views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Sunflower Media Mint. Some programs might include strong images or language that not might be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Ever wonder for what's next? It's time for something new. Define things. Straightforward. Different perspectives. It is black and white. You are listening to PrevHue by the New Q.
Yeah, you got froze.
Back to the pod, and
About now.
I was supposed to say Monday, but it's a Wednesday night here in the Philippines, 16th of September. Welcome to the New You podcast. It's actually previewed by the New You, by the way. So we're at our second season right now, and we have 3 shows for you guys for this season. And every Wednesday, together with Nina, of course, my co-host for this show, we have preview by the New You. You can catch this on Facebook if you're watching right now, or if you missed this episode, you can download the podcast right after this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. All of our previous podcasts as well from season 1 for UMOD and the original pod is all in the in Spotify as well. So you can go check it out and download. So we have tons of talks about different walks of life, society, and culture, whatever you want. It's also on YouTube, but well, we're just starting in YouTube, so all of the podcasts, the live podcast, video podcast is there if you want to watch. And as well, we're also on Instagram. So currently, we're at about 21K strong for Instagram, Twitter, of course, Facebook, everywhere. The New Year's everywhere, like what we always mention. And even if we're back in the second season, it's going to be the same old New You for you guys. It's still black and white, and still always going to be on a straightforward type of talk right now. So before we start tonight's episode, I want to check on first my co-host, Nina. Kamusta, Nina? How are you?
I'm good. Doing live streams and job. Actually, I have work, and it's surprising because every event now is virtually
It's good.
digital.
That's good.
Yeah,
It
but it's a good problem to have.
mm-mm-mm. It's
Yeah.
it's good that the industries right now are starting to cope up. Well, after 7 months
Yes.
of being on an uncertain page or what,
I
everyone is
know.
starting to move. Na we cannot stay this way. We don't we cannot let
Everyone is adjusting actually.
exactly, and that's really really good, and that really excites me to have our guest for tonight. We have the guys from ACIID. We have Alan Garcia, one of the co-founder and global programming director from the Dominican Republic. We have Denise Ayado, another, of course, a co-founder and business development director, also who is now in Manila, but well, studied in Florence. And of course, the founder himself, ACIID's founder, PJ Almera, a good friend of mine, creative director and editor in chief, who just came back from Milan. So we have ACIID for tonight's episode, and we will talk about what these guys are doing right now that's actually new. So welcome to the show, guys.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay,
My
PJ.
pleasure.
Okay, now I'm seeing PJ and of course Alan. So I think the video is turning off whenever they're not speaking. But right now, I'm seeing PJ's video. But anyway,
Yeah.
guys, how are you? PJ, you're in where right now? Last time I talked to you, you're
I'm
in Europe. Now, how about you?
yeah. Yeah, the last time we talked, I was in Europe. I'm currently in Manila right
Mhm.
now. I came back from Milan last year, September.
That's good. How about you, Denise?
Well, I'm doing great. I'm based in Manila right now and currently busy with ACID and a few of our design projects.
That's good. Alan is in Dominican Republic right now, right?
Yes, right now here is in the morning, and for you it's the night, and everything is okay here.
Hmm.
Whether the situation of Corona is a little bit difficult, but right now everything is good.
See. But you guys are not heavily affected there.
Yeah, we have a really big effect here, and we
Mm-hmm.
have still on lockdown. We cannot go out in the night, but
Mm-hmm.
we still are hoping to have a better place in the future.
That's
if we
good.
follow the rules and
Same,
we continue. Yeah,
same with Philippines. We can't go out, but Filipinos.
We
that's the thing. Yeah.
we are really well. I don't want to talk about it, but currently we're reaching the 300K mark. So well, I don't know if what to say about it. So the number speaks for itself. So that's how the thing here in the Philippines. But anyway, like any other country or any other society out there, it's not yet safe out there. The current message that we give to everyone who's downloading this or listening to this right now is that it's not yet safe out there. So there's a reason also why we are still continuing to do this. I mean, at least we give variety to the internet mass, to whoever is listening to this one, to know something new. I mean, there's a lot of content in the internet right now, and there is. I strongly believe in. You just have to pick your market.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's really good to
It's
have
true.
these guys on the show. Why? Because they are in research and trend. That's what acid do. And there's no other right person or people to talk about acid than this three. So guys, how did it all started? What's the story? What's the history behind acid?
Okay, so yeah, ACIID. So we are actually, we are an interdisciplinary research and development design platform. So, one of our main goals is to positively contaminate the minds of people, in terms of understanding different perceptions of design, from art to fashion to interiors, architecture, objects, and all of those are through the method of curated research
Mm-mm.
and inspiration. And we are actually a team of we're actually a big team, and most of our team are from the different parts of the world. And also, in terms of our directors, so we have five board of directors, and right now we're 3 out of 5 here,
Mm-mm.
but it's basically from the Philippines, Italy, and Dominican Republic. So basically, the story of acid happened when I went to Milan. So there's two sides of the story. One is with Alan. Oh, by the way, Alan is just a brief background of, like, for example, how we knew each other. So Alan
Go.
is my classmate from Istituto Marangoni in Milan. So we took the masters in contemporary interior design, and then with Denise, she is my colleague, and she is the former chairperson of SOFA Design Institute for Interior Design, and I currently teach at SOFA as well. So this is how we know each other. And then for the others, like Nandi De La Paz. So Nandi was my former professor, but right now he's our research director in ACID, and he also co-teach with me in Benilde. And then for our final, but definitely not the least member, is Nalo Albert. So she is from Milan, and I met her in Milan as well when I was there, and she is an architect and also a fashion reporter. So, in terms of the story of acid, so basically, when I was in Milan, I had this idea wherein, actually, it's more of like a challenge to me. Wherein, okay, so I'm going to Milan, and then for sure I'm going to have a different approach or perspective in terms of design. So
True.
I think it's the same with Denise and Alan. So I think they agree with me because European context is really far different from the Philippines or Dominican
Of
Republic,
course.
in a way that we see the European, let's say, design movements are a bit more forward and innovative. So they're more bold, they're more graphical, they're more visionary in terms of the way they think. And then from there, I had a challenge because last year when I came back from Milan, I was a bit troubled on how the Philippine market is going to accept the subculture or the culture that's already a part of me, which is the European design culture that I've learned because I fell in love with European culture. So how will I be able to showcase my design identity through the Filipino market? And then from there, I tried within the next 3 to 4 months. When I came back, I practiced design. I also I was teaching in different universities, but then I realized there was really there's really this a challenge for Filipinos in understanding what is contemporary, what is new, what is out there. Because usually we only know what we see in the internet and what the magazines or what the designers here in the Philippines are doing. So from there, I got really frustrated. But then I realized one of the let's say the solution to that is to educate the people. I actually had a
It's true.
an idea whether to go back to to Europe or to Italy to pursue my career. But then I realized no, I wanted to help the Filipino culture or the Filipino designers and community. So from there, I came up with this vision, and then I collected. I tapped different people to create a collective. So that started with Alan, with
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Denise, with Nello, with Nandi, and then from there, we all had the same kind of like wavelength when it comes to understanding what is contemporary design, what is the future of innovation, what is the future of the social design and impact in the
Mm-mm.
society. So from there, we started it. So we're very young. The idea happened last year, but then we established it on March of this year.
Oh,
So
just
we're
this year.
basically yes, we're a pandemic baby.
So we're batchmates.
Yes.
we're, we're typically batchmates in the industry, but it's good to hear that, of course, people like you guys are really venturing into something like this. We have lived in a world that we're so accustomed into what is being fed to us. Okay, and
Yeah.
it's good that people like, of course, like you, like Acid, that starting something that we all know that this will take time. We all know that from the start. If you're thinking of something new, it will take time for society, for the market to pick it up, because no one's trusting. I mean, no one's really believing you from day one. That's it. But the most important thing there is to find those people that shares the same passion as you. And it's good that you all guys found each other. And with this, with your story, I mean, like what PJ mentioned about how acid started, and well, it's just started from last year, and then just this March as well. The good thing there is that we all know that, okay, there are people talking about or studying what society is all about. Well, like the new you, we started the podcast, as I mentioned, like a bedroom podcast that strives or starve for conversations, human conversations. It's not really talking about talking to a bot. It's not like that. This type of shows, this type of activations is here for you to really still continue to engage, not just base it on what is being fed by social media. And that's something that we had to discuss for tonight. When we talk about trend as well, it's good that I kept on saying this on the pre-show that I watched this documentary in Netflix, The Social Dilemma. So for those who haven't watched it yet, go check it out because it's worth your time. And then having watched that documentary, I know you guys, well, some of you haven't watched it yet, but there's a point there wherein the society right now is being driven by the gaslighting or manipulation that social media is really giving to us. The the downside there is that the bots, the artificial intelligence is the one already directing the person's movements and thinking. That is something that, well, personally, I don't like. And that is something that I want to ask you guys because you guys are more on the research and trend. So, how are trends being driven by the society and social movements right now? I mean, it's good to know that there are still people who tries to be smart and intelligent and still chooses to use their brains rather than the tools available right now. Because the difference there is if you use the tools and you use the brain, there's a difference to it. And I would say that's the human touch. Okay? The
Yeah.
machines don't tell you that okay, if you do that, this will happen. Less the emotions or what. But with you guys, how are you seeing that in terms of the trends, yeah, how it's being driven by the society and social movements as well?
That question is very relevant right now. Not just because of the virtual technology, but also within what's happening,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to the pandemic, when it comes to everything. So, for example, um, so actually, when it comes to the society, like driving the trends. So, just to give you a quick history, from the 1990s. So brands were actually dictated. Sorry, the products were actually being dictated by the brands. So
Okay.
basically, what the society is producing or what the society is buying during the 1990s, it's always the brands such as the luxury brands, even the big brands like Coca-Cola, Louis Vuitton, H&M, or no, there's no H&M yet, but the big brands who are
Mm,
really influential. They're the ones creating the product, and people need to accept that because it's the only available thing.
that's
But
true.
during this time, it's all about social impact. So and for those who don't know what social impact is, it's kind of like a positive change, a positive and influential change that addresses a pressing social challenge. So by social challenge, it there's a lot of social challenges that we are actually facing right now. So for example, definitely we have the post-COVID concept. So what's going to happen after COVID? And then we have to deal with a lot of emotions, sustainability as well, which was actually put on hold, but now we're actually going back to how we can be more sustainable, because there was a time where sustainable was put on hold because of COVID. No?
Mm-mm.
And then other things are adaptability, progression, and also advocacy and activism. So it should be anything in between that, and which promotes social responsibility.
That's
So
true.
even us, for example, we're mostly designers in ACIID, and right now, when we design spaces, structure, objects, we have to double check and think about the social responsibility and the impact that it's going to give to the society. So is it going to be um, culturally responsible? Is it going to be economically responsible? No. So from there, there are a lot of other factors. For example, right now, in terms of the drivers, so the drivers of the society, which are defining the trends. So it's all about empathic design, understanding one another. So understanding the community also. This is why a lot of people, such as both ACID and the New You, we've created sort of like a digital community. And this digital community is there to help spread awareness, to help educate people. So it's kind of like a community building,
True.
because everything is all about, so according to to Fashion Snoop Snap from their previous talk before. So the influencer economy right now is actually, it has stopped because the relevance, it's different. So for example, before, everything was driven by luxury or the goals to travel. Since all of those are not relevant anymore during this time, the materialism, it's converted into people emotions and what we need. It's all about the people right now. And one of the reasons why TikTok became really huge during this time is because, um, in terms of the zennial and centennial market, people want to have fun. People want to escape. So it's all about being able to express, to show both inclusivity and diversity. There's a lot of things that are happening within the society, and for personally, for me, it's a lot, but a lot. has something to do with emotions. And later on, I think Alan will be discussing some of the virtual technology and realities.
Yeah.
But actually, right now, I'm actually on the process of understanding, because it's really good that you brought up the Netflix show,
Yeah.
social sorry,
Dilemma.
what was that?
Social dilemma.
Social dilemma, yeah.
Yeah.
Because currently, since we had our virtual design week, um, I've been doing a bit of writing and research on what is the future of touch. So, for example, in terms of the future of touch, since everything can be replicated, the five senses can actually be replicated. So, from auditory to hearing, even the skin or the touch can now be replicated. So, it's actually a bit scary, at the same time, interesting to figure out what's next or what's the future for this. But basically, sort of my conclusion, but it's not yet final, so this might change. But basically, it's all about understanding the physical reality. So that's kind of like what we're developing as our sixth sense, based on what the current pandemic, the lockdown, the quarantine, the social distancing, and virtual technology. It's all about understanding the sixth sense, which is the physical reality, that we cannot be bounded by the, let's say, the availability and the easy access to virtual technology.
You know, Peach, I just want to add, no, I think Nina has something to ask as well. You mentioned about replicating the senses that it's needed, and then you talk about the sense of touch. I remember this well, I'm a big Netflix binge watcher, so I remember this one episode in Black Mirror,
Mm-hmm.
wherein you can actually replicate clone a person into this type of
Oh
robot
yeah.
thing or what, that it has the memory, the physical appearance, and all of that. It can really happen. It can really happen.
Mm-hmm.
Why? There's a product that I saw online. I don't know if it's a hoax or what or whatever, but it's all about, it's more of a virtual kiss, a virtual lips.
Mm. Yes.
Wherein couples from across the world, okay, can buy this thing and then pair it.
It's called Kissinger.
You know it. It's a kissing her.
Yeah, Kissinger.
It's it's
Yeah.
it's it's like a pair of lips that you give it to the other person, and then you just touch it with your lips, of course, and then it feels like the I think the temperature, the size, or the mold of the lips, and then it sends that same form to the other end. It's really funny that we can laugh about it at all, but if you think
Mm-hmm.
about it, we are in a situation wherein we are advised to do social distancing and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not really impossible that it can happen. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
just a thought. Nina.
Yeah, I have a question with what you said earlier. Like, as a consumer, how do you see COVID affecting consumers consume products?
Yeah. When it comes to the COVID, like how the COVID is affecting the consumerism
Mm.
right now. Well, basically, it's everything is slow. So it started with fashion, wherein there's slow fashion, and then also when it comes to sustainability, also in a way that actually it's partly connected, in a way that because everything is going slow because of the supply and demand,
Mm-mm.
later on it's actually tapping also to the sustainability factor, wherein when we design, when we innovate, it's focused now on the idea of, can we use this later on, can we use this when everything is back to normal, no?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of this one, I mean, of course there are a lot of things that's being that's designed, which is already, let's say, all on Lazada, on Shopee, or Amazon. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
then I wanted
yeah.
to give something a bit different. So, for example, in terms of through circular economy, so designers right now, kind of like Samsung and the Zine. The Zine is kind of like a design platform. So they had design competition using recycled Samsung cardboard boxes. So one of the
Oh.
trends, actually, when it comes to furniture and objects, are
Mm-hmm.
the use of recycled materials and the objects that will be recycled also. So, for example, what am I going to do here? So, the temporary furniture. So, those temporary furniture, kind of like the cardboard boxes. So, even if you throw them away in the future, they're not, they're not very harmful to the environment because they're paper. And so, even it's also manifested in some of the design events already, just like Maison and Objet in Paris. There was already some of the sustainable materials. So a lot has to do with clay. It has to do with cardboard as well. So there's a lot of actually vases and sculpture that are made from cardboard, and tables that are made from cardboard. So those are things that we have to always consider. So because in terms of, I mean, fashion, definitely a lot of the companies already closed. And I wanted to quote one of the pioneer or the best, let's say, trend forecaster in the world, Lee Edelfort. So she mentioned that the virus will show how slowing and shutting down of companies can actually produce a better environment. So it's a very strong statement from her, which is actually true. Right now, we're realizing that we don't really need a lot of clothes. We're realizing that everything is going back to the simplistic elements such as food, shelter. But
Exactly.
then we are trying, since we are progressive people, we try to think innovation. So of course we have technology, we have virtuality. So far that's the direction we're taking because we're bounded by going outside. Yeah.
True. Even work from home, like everyone's realizing that it can work in the future, right?
It is, and to add to work from
Yeah.
home, it's something that
Mm-hmm.
triggered the demand for desk. I mean, as simple as that. No, nobody. If you have forecasted what's happening within this pandemic and you started a business last March in terms of building office desk for home, you're gonna be rich by now. I mean, right?
True.
Nobody or maybe someone a little bit of the market would think that, okay, I'm betting my money on creating desk. Because who
Mm-hmm.
cares? They use it at the office and it's actually limited. But right now, every household demands a desk because you cannot work on the floor for a number of
Oh
hours.
yeah,
Right?
the office shares and the gaming shares.
Exactly. Who
Yes.
who would have thought that every household somehow would need a good pair of microphone and headset, right?
Yes.
Usually it's more in the entertainment industry. But yeah, these are the
Mm-hmm.
trends that these people from ACIID, I mean, not really just, I'm not talking about desk and microphone alone, but it's more of the research and the trend that we are looking forward. I mean, going into this
Yes.
pandemic, it's really good to have this data on hand. And it's
Oh,
really,
by the way,
go,
sorry.
go.
By the way, where'd you get your name?
Yeah.
Like,
Acid.
is there a story behind it, or is
Yes.
it
Oh
a
nga.
technical term?
Yes, ACID is an abbreviation for a contemporary of inspirational, influential, and interdisciplinary designers.
Oh, cool. Inano ko pa yun,
Yeah,
like one by one. ACII.
yeah. But then,
Okay.
because of that abbreviation, also we also resembled it to acid, like the actual acid, wherein it's very, it contaminates, and it's also very, let's say, how do you call this? It's very psychedelic in a way that it
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
really
Mm-mm.
sticks to your mind. So this is actually why one of our motto or our tagline is positive contamination,
Wow.
because our contamination through research and design and inspiration are very colorful, that you will, I mean, even if you don't know about trends, you will definitely want to check it out.
Putting things into perspective.
You
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
comes to my mind? The
Go.
acid pro. The Is it for music and videos too? So
Hmm.
I associated it with it. I
Acid?
mean your
Sorry, which
name.
one?
The acid pro. I associated it with acid pro.
Acid Pro. I'm not sure
It's
what's
a.
Acid.
I'm not sure if it's for musicians or for videographers, something like that. Mm.
Ah,
It's good. It's good about this. Very very creative in the sense that it's actually well for those who are watching and well listening to us. That's the good thing about branding. It's something that you have to think about with number of times, and it has to mean something. You cannot just go out there and just put on a name without any meaning. And it's good that well for some, yeah, acid can be as simple as the acid that we all know. But hey, this is the reason why acid is being acid, like what PJ mentioned. Uh,
Yeah.
I want to talk to our friend
Yeah.
in Dominican Republic right now, Alan. Alan Garcia is one of the co-founder for Acid as well. Of course, in charge for the global programming. He is the director for that. You guys had this very successful virtual design week recently. I've seen a lot the content in social media, Instagram, or wherever. It's good. It's really visually enticing, visually engaging, and all. Well, it's a virtual design week, I would say. This project, now, how do you see the research, well, being manifested through psychological, what they call it, philosophical, and technological perspective? How do you see this researches coming into those different sides of perspective, coming as the outcome from your recently successful virtual design week?
Yeah, as you said, even our name have a meaning. All our projects have a meaning behind it.
Mm.
BDW, the principal thing was to make a reflection in a philosophical
Yeah.
way to understand better how the virtual design have impact into the sustainability, equality, and creation of community. Um, uh, we create a call submission for a gallery for to all the world, and we have 20 entries and 11 countries participations.
Wow, 11 countries.
And yes, it was really good for our research to understand how they create they use the virtual design in these key main points and how it manifests in that way. Some of them were just creating aesthetic, but some of them have more deeper meaning in terms of creating a community or how to use virtual design in their process to create more sustainable approach in the creation of design. In those we have like projects like Clove Matryoshka. I think they are Philippines also.
Mm-hmm.
They're using the virtual platform like Minecraft to create a space to give music to the people. But music like they have a main goal to put music for people who are coming from the LGBTQ community
Yeah.
or are non-white performance. So they have like this term of decolonization of music. And this space of interaction in the virtual design have made us reflect a new way to use the tool, not only to sell and buy, but to use it to inspire, to um, uh, to create relationship, whether in a team. Also, another thing or conclusion that we found interesting is seeing project from Russia that is inspired by Mexican culture
Mm-mm.
and different other projects that are inspired and from another part of the world, and seeing that contamination that goes across the sea in their creation have shown us like the possibilities that virtuality has. So, like responding your questions, this philosophical
Yeah.
and understanding of design um, is it had like our project have been like a result of those questions of what is sustainability, equality, and community. and how we can use the design not only to sell but to make a space for people to think about design.
Mm.
We also invite panelists from different universities.
Mm-hmm.
We get panelists from Dominican universities, from Philippine universities, and also an international one where they participate people from Dubai, Brazil, and Dominican Republic. And the conclusion that they have, understanding design and how they use the education to um, uh, and the virtual realm to create a new way of thinking to use design. It was really, really good. You can see we're gonna have in the future all posts in our website, all the conclusion and the reflections, and I think it was a really good project. Yeah.
Well, adding to your virtual design week, I think Nina, that's 2 weeks ago, right? 2 weeks ago when we had Unite.
Yeah,
Yes.
2 weeks
Okay,
ago.
the New Year also had Unite. It's more of a 2 day music fest that gathers well the local artists here in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And then it started with a simple talk about having a private Zoom party with Nina when we had her
Yeah.
on the show, and then it blew up to like a Coachella fest, a full blown
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
festival, wherein we had about 10, 11 DJs playing, and then about a dozen of artists, indie,
Mm-hmm.
acoustic, different genre, all joined together in one cause. I mean, we see now the strength of how we do things virtually. Okay, and I think it's
Yes.
something that's also good with what happened with your virtual design week.
Yeah.
Coming in like what you mentioned, it's composed of about 11 countries. Man, that's something. That is something. And I would say that having to gather that type of audience, that type of reach in terms of pulling together and really living in this borderless world right now that we are in, because well, like this show, as simple as this, we're talking to you right now. You are in another country, you're in a different time zone, but this show is happening, and afterwards, for those who missed this episode, they can still download and listen to this and learn something from it. It's good that we have to look into the positive side of this virtual stuff, the virtual environment that we are looking at right now. We are living in right now, and turn it into things into reality.
Yes. I
That's really
mean,
good. Go ahead, go ahead.
Yes. One of the conclusions that we had was this beautiful thing that we can eliminate those barriers that we had before,
It's true.
and I think those barriers were in our mind in some of way, and COVID-19 had make us, and this quarantine mode had make us like go through use the technology and uh, and find those platforms to communicate with those person who wants to create knowledge.
Yes,
And
definitely.
yes, I think that this was one of the results of this pandemic is like the creation of virtual communities and the elimination of those barriers that we had before. That maybe were on our mind because we always have internet in this last decade. But right now we are seeing this growing of the different virtual communities. And I think the growing of the knowledge, of the knowledge, cross-sectoral knowledge and cross-cultural knowledge.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. That's right. And well, before I go on with the next one, we topped off the first season of the new you with Sasha Grey. Sasha Grey, the ex-adult star, and it's really well, it's an eye opener in that episode. We're in. Of course, we had commenters. We had commenters who have not yet moved on to what she was previously doing, and well, I don't know what's up to them, but hey, they're part of the society, so I respect them for what they do, and it's good to know that talking to her, knowing that she has that background, and yet she's continuing life and doing something else right now, like what you said in terms of the cultural aspect to it, its effect on society. It for me, it really cultivates to something that hey, every day as you wake up, it's another day, and you can start something new, and then you can just go on and do you have that drive, you still have that will, you still have that control in your life, and that is what matters. I mean, you can choose to go left or right. You can still to continue what you are currently doing. It can be right or wrong in in whatever perspective it is. The
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's all about your choice as a person. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely the virtual design week that you guys got. This is the first, right, Alan?
Yes, it's the first one.
You're
Yeah.
planning to
We,
have this annually or what?
yeah, that's a plan to have it every year.
Every year?
Let's see what the future brings.
Yeah, that's good.
Like,
That's
I mean, a good thing of us it is always evolving. I
yeah.
mean, as it is a research platform, it's evolved with the research. The ways that communicates, the way that experimentate with the spaces that we have online,
Mm-mm.
and you will see the result in the future.
Y-
And I hope, yeah, to have this. We hope to have this event in the future every year, and to have like something that evolve
Mm-mm.
more bigger and bigger each year. And not only, as I said before, not only a place to sell things because we're not selling things in this platform,
Yes,
but
yes.
we are exploring and making the people reflect on what is the importance of the virtual realm.
Exactly. And well, in terms of design week and all, whatever week there is, I think PJ would agree on this one because PJ and I somehow met on the
Mhm.
fashion industry, like having with the
Yeah.
Philippine Fashion Week and all. That's the only week that well the Philippines is more of known for. I mean, we have that kinds of week here in the Philippines, and then now we are forced all to work on virtually. And one of the realizations that I've seen in this pandemic is that now we are all our own team until you find those persons who believe as well. Like you guys, if you guys, you all have your own visions and missions or whatever you want to do, but finding one another, that's priceless. And I think that's the same with the new you. It's just like what I mentioned. It's just a bedroom project. It just starves for communication to the outside world. But hey, right now it's something that we thought about going into season 2 to feature you guys, new things, new stuff in the market. And this, as long as you have that vision for something new or a vision that you will always look back in term when you encounter on why you started things. That's really the point of all of this, that the things that we do. Okay,
Yeah. And
Yes, yeah.
go.
in terms of acid, what we do, because for example, this was actually from Geraldine Wari, one of the trend main trend masters from WGSN. So I think most of the designers know about the WGSN. But what she liked about acid is that we don't just research and we don't just gather data and we
Mm-mm.
don't just report. We actually do the projects ourselves because usually that's
Application.
the problem.
Yes,
Yes, the
Mhm.
application, because
it's true.
there are a lot of actually there are a lot in terms of the communities in Europe, especially in London. There are a lot of trend forecasters and researchers, but they're always like the conclusion are just basically key points or key takeaways what you should do. But
Mm-mm,
then
mm-mm.
I mean, how will you really do it? Like, you need to give them an example. So this is one of our steps on how we can really show the people how to manifest it in an app, in an
Mhm.
application. And we will not stop from virtual design week. There's actually a bit more in store, and later Denise will be sharing some of our future projects. But yeah.
That's really nice. Well, I'm actually about to go to Denise right
Yeah.
now, Peach. So where's Denise? I'm looking for Denise. Okay. Nina, I lost her video as well. Anyway, Denise.
Really?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
lost her video, but yeah, going into well, Denise is the well, Denise is also one of the co-founders for ACIID and well, currently the business development director for them. When we're talking about business development director, well, this is where the the bills go. This is where we talk about the the dollars and stuff. And
Mhm.
well, for everything that we do, It's really good. I mean, this is something that everyone should understand as well. When we talk about design, when we talk about audio, video, creative, or whatsoever, okay? Nothing is free in this world, guys. I mean, to be honest, nothing is free in this world. We are living in a world wherein money is really a necessity. And let's not be total hypocrite about it. The money is used to, well, sustain things. And with the side of this, like also with the new year, of course, we have subscriptions to pay, we have hard drives, we have whatever storage that we need,
Internet.
internet for this to all of this to happen. Same goes with the websites, with ACIID and everything. You need all of this to sustain this. But with how ACIID is doing, Denise, what are ACIID's products and services that, well, people can avail?
Okay. So, well, as discussed earlier, ACID focuses on Asian, Latin American, and European markets. So, what we do really is we take this external and global trend reports and forecasts, and then we apply it into different contextual perspectives, like industry and geographical regions.
Mm-mm.
And we do it in a digestible and visually engaging way. So, in a way, ACID is like, it follows like a global local business
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
approach. So currently, we are finalizing preparations for our trend report and trend forecasting subscription. So that's one of our business models. And then the other layer for that is if you're a business and then you want to take your product and your business development process into a whole new level, they can avail of our consultancy service, which is an in-depth branding, in-depth collaboration between client and assets. So here we will take these contextualized trend reports and trend forecasts and then create branding, design conceptualization, and design development solutions and contextualize it even more deeply in terms of the needs of the business identity and its requirements. So that's the bigger picture. It's subscription and consultancy model.
Yeah.
But of course, we have other business models that also support these larger strategies.
Okay. But when we talk about business, when we talk about your offerings, of course, the products and the services that you guys will be doing for us, for the market, in the near today or the future, there's something behind it. I mean, of course, the skills that are there, everything is there, but what people are not understanding yet is data is there. And I would
Mm-hmm.
say, for me, personally, I think, no, I don't think for everyone, but personally, I'm thinking data is the new gold.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask me, if you will let me choose right now between data and gold or money, I'll still pick data. Why? Money and gold are quantifiable and
Mm-hmm.
it runs out. Okay, if I'm a big spender, you give me about $50 million right now, and I'm a big spender, I can just finish it in about a week, and then I'm done, right? And then I'm done. But if I have data, data right now is is a key ingredient in making money.
Mm-hmm.
That is
I
some
agree with that.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think in your perspective, how do you see this when talk about data and research being more valuable right now than the things like money and gold?
Okay, so I understand your metaphor that data is the new gold because if you look at gold, right, you have to mine it, and then when you get it, the gold is actually buried and mixed with a lot of matter. So you have sand, stones, rocks, all of those things. So similarly, there is a huge amount of data that we encounter on a daily basis, especially if you're in the research and development
True.
field, right? So we have to sift through this unneeded material and refine it down to the essentials.
Hmm.
So data may be gold, but just like gold, you have to process it in
True.
order for it to have value.
Yes,
And so that's where insight comes in.
that's true.
So if you look at it, properly processed data is really the new factor of production. So it plays a huge role in changing business model, to make your boundaries more minimal, and to reframe your market structures. So in ACID, for example, we have created a very meticulous data generation framework
Wow.
where you combine the different data gathering processes. So there's a level of complexity and accuracy in that process. And then we turn this data into meaningful insights using research and intuition for our trend reporting and forecasting process. Um, the old way of using data analytics, like before when big data first came in, is
Mm-mm.
that people would use it to focus on increased efficiency and make post hoc decision making processes. Like for example, you do it to improve a certain product or a service based on evaluations after you put out that product.
Yeah.
Well, the new use of data actually helps in making decisions to create new value and revenue generating streams of income, products, and services using the data insights that you already have,
Exactly.
even if you haven't put it out yet in the market. It also helps in enriching the customer's experience because you can already personalize the context, life cycles, or even multi generational touch points and tap into varied lifestyles of your clientele. So yeah, so basically I agree that it is gold, but you have um just like gold or just like in everything, like data, not all data are created equal. You have to have the right process or the right method to sift through that, and you also have to have the right insight and the mechanisms for research to turn that data into something more valuable.
It's true. And to be honest, no, while doing this interview with you guys, I was thinking about like what we're doing. I mean, we're doing well. Majority of the world right now is into streaming. I think Nina, you're still in Kumu, right?
Yes.
So Nina's been playing well, Nina's a DJ. Nina's still continuing to play in Kumu. But as streamers right now, it's really important for the streamers to know their own, of course, their viewers. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the market that they attract. I mean, I'm not saying everyone, but majority of the streamers right now is more concerned on how many viewers do I have currently. So if I have, let's say, 9,000, 10,000. Well, Liza Zamorano just started streaming games, and she hit about 34,000 viewers. Imagine bigger audience than when our president is talking. So it's really different. I mean, if like what Denise is saying, if you know how to interpret this data, if you have the right insights into this, who is watching, what age, what gender, where are they located, you can turn or create a very efficient business model out of it of what you're doing. And it's good that hey, you guys are here. ACIID is here. Some research and trend companies are here to help us out. I mean, to make this, like what I mentioned, that everything that we do should start from our passion. But at the end of the day, there will come a point wherein business model should come in, because that is really what do you call this, a necessity in terms of maintaining and sustaining things like what we're doing with ACIID, and of course the new you. Before I wrap this up, well, like traditional New You style, I want to talk to our guests right now, Alan, PJ, and then Denise. We go alphabetical first with Alan. Alan, how do you see the new trend in terms of, well, local, as you would say? How do you see the new trend in terms of your industry, the research, whatever virtual things that you do right now?
Well, right now here in Dominican Republic, you see all the brands going more in a sustainable way because even the production lines of their product having changed for the quarantine stuff. And you are being seeing here some luxury brands turning into a slow fashion. And that's really huge. Like a company who made fashion clothes for runways and for red carpet is going in luxurious nights, is
Mm-mm.
going towards to casual clothes, and is going in a more sustainable way. There are also some foundations that are making alliances with these brands in order to reduce the impact on the water use that they have and the impact that they are doing to the environment. So I think in the local production here is going towards on a sustainable way, and also the consumer here is getting educated more and is thinking more on using local product. There's a huge campaign into use local products to incentivize the local economy, because right now Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, one of the biggest economy inputs is tourism, and right now with the corona, it's had a really big impact here. So I think the trend here is that local consumption and sustainability path for all the brands.
Okay. Denise?
Well, on a business and brand perspective, in the post-pandemic world, and if you are looking at analytics, you will see main three touch points that will be prevalent in the coming months or even years. So you have protection, you have wellness, and the need for mood boosting spaces and products. So, like what PJ said earlier, the way people look at influencers will be really different, as now they will turn towards those who can either educate them on a personal level or those who can entertain them on a relatable and personal level. So, brands and influencers who advocate for community engaging activities, like, for example, ACID and the New You, influencers who are advocating for meditation, spirituality, they're becoming more and more prevalent right now because it taps into our need to be engaged in our human and spiritual side. Another thing, like ASMR videos, they're getting bigger because it creates a
Mm-hmm.
feeling of sensory integration and a very much welcomed a very much welcomed experience, because our other senses are kind of limited at this point.
Mm-mm.
In terms naman of protection, there is a much needed addition for better products for sanitation, compliance to the low touch economy. So if it's technologically integrated, people will see that as something that's sanitary and something that will protect them. And of course, better indoor quality. So if you've noticed, diba, during this time, we have a lot of plantitos and plantitas,
Yeah.
and people are people are going to that direction. It's not just because of the aesthetic values. Of course, plants look beautiful in a space, but it also taps into the psychology of looking at things from nature, and more importantly, improving the quality of air around us. So I think those are the three main directions that businesses and brands will be going towards in the coming months.
That's good. PJ?
Yes. Yeah, so I definitely agree with Alan and Denise. And when it comes to this one, so um, I do believe that it's more focused on understanding social design. So social design is very, very important for us to design something that it impacts, build the community. We are right now, we're very vulnerable for the possible challenges, damages that could be done. And this is the time for us, like Alan mentioned earlier, taking everything slow. So even the businesses are doing it, not just because there's a lack of, let's say there's a lack of demand and supply, there's a lack of source resources, but also when it comes to understanding what you really need. Okay,
True.
so even us as people, both as consumers and as creators or innovators, we have now, especially in the Philippines, since most of the Filipino innovators here in the Philippines are focused on just create. No, so this is the time for us to perfectly analyze. We have to think, rethink, reflect, and evaluate our decisions. So both as
That's true.
consumers, so for example, if you're going to buy this, at this time, do you really need it? And as designers, if you're designing something, will this really be necessary? Okay, so I know that there's a lot of designers who are really coming up with a lot of ideas for their brands, um, their company or their own personal label, but always think, what is your responsibility as someone shaping the design community? And and then all of that are of actually leading also to the idea of wellness, especially a lot of things that has to do with wellness and well-being. So spatial and self-enhancement and improvement. So it can be through technology, it can be through natural applications such as like Denise mentioned, plants, or even activities that can actually bring you closer to nature, such as pottery, no? So touching earth, touching clay. So we need these ideas for us to, we need this approach for us to get closer to nature, even if we're not going outside. No?
Mm.
And then a lot to do also with gamification. So to all those brands out there who are trying to venture through virtual technology, one of the best examples or tools or channels to go is through gamification or games,
Yeah.
because we know that in the Philippines we don't have a lot of people doing UIX and development of apps. We don't have, we're not yet as equipped as the Western,
That's true.
countries,
That's true.
but it's really a good channel for us to tap get gamification for us to gain more viewers and more interaction, because right now, since we're at home, and also this idea of gamification using avatars like 3D avatars or a reflection of yourself in a virtual world is actually creating a lot of let's say inclusivity, because no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, the community that you're building within that space creates this holistic experience that everyone is being respected and being heard about. So
That's good to hear from you guys. The usual, the new you way of ending a pod. A pod. My take on this. Well, before I give Nina, well, the plugging stint for this. When it comes to
Mm-hmm.
the new trend, well, recently Louis Vuitton just launched this face mask. I mean, that's about, I think, $1,000 worth face mask and all. I mean, of course, there's a market to it. They like what I would being an example earlier, diba? If I have about this money, I would spend it. I'm a big spender, and I'll spend it. I'll buy it because I'm capable of doing it. But pero at the same time, we are in the middle of a pandemic. I'm not saying that they should price it that way or what, but you are starting to urge, you are starting to manipulate, you're starting to throw that gaslighting to the market in terms of believing on what is really important in the middle of this pandemic. It is important
Yeah.
for face mask. Face mask or whatever the needs, the necessity, alcohol or whatever is needed right now. But do we really need $1,000 worth of face mask? I'm not saying again that it's bad. It's their call. But as an individual, as a consumer, I would say I can buy a face mask for how much? For about 15 pesos here in the Philippines, 25 pesos, and I'm good with it. And I can spend the rest of my money to something else that is more relevant or really helping out those in need. That's just my take. I mean, people can
yes.
bash me or people can throw shade at me, but that's my take. And if you're on the other side, I completely respect that because that's what we believe in. Another thing here that happened in this pandemic, we have this alcohol liquor company here. I think San Miguel. When the pandemic started, they somehow lessened the production of alcohol liquors and turned their raw
Mm-hmm.
materials into real alcohol, the sanitation alcohols. Well,
Yeah.
it's about of supply and demand, but at the same time, it's about knowing that social responsibility on what you feed to your consumers. Okay, I mean, with the perspective of that company, I would say they can still say that, hey, um, we know that drinkers or those who consume alcohol or liquor will not stop drinking in the middle of the pandemic. And that's true because people tend to go to liquor or alcohol whenever they feel down or depressed. But at the same time, they know they had the thinking that I'd rather produce my raw materials in creating stuff that not only 18 and above can consume. I'll start producing alcohol sanitations or sanitation for what? Because also kids can use that. That's two different things. And when we talk about trend, when we talk about research and all, these are the things that, of course, the brands, the suppliers should be putting in their minds. And personally, I think if you rely on tools only, again, like I mentioned earlier, you will lose something there. And that is the ability to think as humans. That is what's missing there because you're basing your assumptions, your decisions right now to what the machine or the tool is feeding you. But if you have research companies, if you have these guys to help you out, you will not just rely on the data, but you rely on people thinking about what's heard, what's seen, what's being tasted, what's being smelled, what's its effect on society, culture, psychological, spiritual, and whatever. Because you touch on all aspects already. I think when PJ and I were talking about doing this episode, I told him, PJ, that's the reason why we do live podcasting and downloadable podcast and then articles later on. Why? Because there's a market for the disabled. Even though how pretty you create a poster or a visual content, that's still not applicable for the blind market because they don't see it.
Yes.
So you have to translate, you have to communicate that message to something else. And that's why when I told him, Peach, we're doing the live podcast because it's both visual and audio. So at least for those that are actually blind, they can still hear us. Okay? And then why are we doing articles later on? Because for those who are deaf, they can still read what's in the article or what's in the podcast or what the concept to it. And it will all connect. And when making design, you have to factor in all of this to create that trend because you cannot miss out a single point in this society, whether in whatever factors that these guys are talking earlier in this podcast, to come up with a holistic solution, with a whole picture. You have to factor in spiritual, psychological, visual, whatever points of that. You have to extract the juice in all of that to create that perfect to extract that perfect product out of the data on hand. Okay. Once again, thanks guys. Thank you for joining us in this episode.
Yeah.
Alan, I know well you're having your coffee in the morning in the Dominican Republic. PJ and Denise here in the Philippines, thank you so much for doing this episode with us. This is really informative. And I hope personally, as a consumer as well, that more people follow your footsteps. I mean, this is something fruitful, this is something worthwhile, this is something that you guys should be continuing because this is going somewhere else. Nina?
Yeah, thank you so much again, guys. PJ, Denise, and Alan. We definitely learned a lot from you. And my world is usually focused on music, so everything I heard from here was like they are all new to me. And thank you again for giving us the sneak peek of what your world or how your world is to us. And also, we're promoting tomorrow's night, BU with Gita and Reg. They will be guesting McCoy Dub. And on Friday, You Mood with Vino. Our guest is Katsuri and she's launching her playlist Intimacy and Infinity. Also, to check our schedule, our future guests, and we have interesting articles coming up. Please check out the newuph.com and please follow us on IG, the new UPH, and same with Twitter and our Facebook, the new you.
That's right.
Thank you so much again, guys.
Guys, you have anything to plug?
And
Yeah.
Yeah, we would like to. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much to the new you for inviting us. Do follow
Our
us
pleasure.
at social media channels where we constantly post our contents. Our Instagram is at acid, so AC triple ID dot online, and our Facebook and YouTube channels acid online. And then if you have a creative business, it can be a product, an event, or a service. We have a segment called Sunspots or Sunday Spotlights where we can highlight your brand and events in our IG story reel. And then lastly, watch out for our next virtual design event happening within November and December in conjunction with our virtual design book launch. So it's an immersive digital festival that touches different generations and different fields of design. And we're really excited to start promoting it.
PJ?
Yes. Yeah. That's all.
That's
That's all
all.
for us.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Thank you
guys.
so
Thank you
much
so
for
much.
having us.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Our pleasure that you guys spend the time with us. Well, for everyone, like what we've been talking about here in the new you hear something new every time, every episode that we have.
That's true.
It's always new. Even us, myself, Reg, Gita, Vino, Nina. This is something that we're like students also here. We're learning something new from our guests and of course maybe our own insights as well. And this is a very fruitful interaction conversation with of course like you guys, Acid. So if you're liking this, if you want this, if you're really enjoying this time, this podcast, download this episode afterwards. It's going to be available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Check out all of our content. It's way different every day, every week. But it's always going to be straightforward. It's always going to be in black and white. And of course, always your new you. Good night, everyone. And of course, good morning, Dominican Republic. So good night.
Yeah.